Thank you very much, John. Just before we finish up, if there anybody has any questions for any of our speakers that were here today, we have a couple of minutes for questions for Niall or for Simon or for Moira.
I'd like to speak, please.
Yes, sure.
My name is Catherine Mary. I live here in number 17 in Great Water Street. First of all, I'd like to say a great word of thanks to Peggy Nolan, Jerry Warnock and May Sexton, who have been so good and so patient with me, because I've come so often to them crying literally about our street, about Water Street. And I'd like to know, first of all, what is going to be done about Water Street? If there are all these empty buildings, which there are in the street, what's going to happen about a compulsory order to leave people doing something with this property? Is it all just going to be pulled down, and are we going to do something like what they've done in Westwood, make it a nice open area where people can come, can meet, sit outside, have their cups of coffee, whatever. But you know, what is going to happen? Then also we have so many empty houses in the street that it's hard to believe it. Now, granted, there wouldn't be family houses, but there would be a one person or a two people house. What's going to happen? I'm in number 17. I have nobody living beside me in 18. And then 19 is the next two buildings. There were shops and various other things. They're all gone now. So I want to know today, as we stand here, what is the plan for Water Street?
Okay, I'll answer that one if I can, and thanks very much for the question. I suppose where we are at the moment with the plan is at the moment it's a phase 2 of a plan, so we are opening this out to suggestions from the public, and anyone is welcome to put in any suggestion that they want, around any specific area within the plan. You mentioned compulsory purchase orders and you mentioned things like that. Now, there are a lot of, I suppose, legal hoops to go through before we get to a stage where we start doing that. But as we said, we are not ruling anything in or anything out at this point in time. I would hope, with the collaboration of the, of the people and the public representatives here, that we would put together, a plan for Great Water Street and Little Water Street in the whole plan there. So this will develop into something like that. And as I say, for our funding application, that has to be ready before the 28th of September. So it's, I suppose, a bit of watch this space, but also there will be chances for the citizens in the area to collaborate up until that date. So.
Okay, can I ask you another question then? What do they do in Waterford and Westwood about these buildings that are left empty? How do they go about getting compulsory orders to get these buildings knocked down or whatever?
Oh, they did that. In some of the buildings they did that. Yeah. They had to go to the last.
Yeah. Hi. It's a great question. I think it's very good. But as was said, I think Great Water Street is part of phase 2 of the plan, which is not done yet. So really, collectively, it's people like you who live on the street inform these plans. And I know it's not done yet for the street. So there's two different ways you can look at it. You can there's a lot of finances available from Niall's department in terms of housing for refurbishing existing derelict houses. There's also the demolition aspect of it, which is very extreme, and probably you don't want to go there because they're historic buildings. So, really, I suppose the answer is not there yet because the phase 2 of the plan has to be done. But in Westport or Waterford, that's exactly why we would consult with people like yourselves who live there, and you would inform what's best for the future of that street, because you perhaps have been living there for many years.
Yes, my grandparents also lived on the street.
So it's 3 generations.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's people like you who are very important in informing these plans, but it hasn't been finalised yet. But the beauty about that is that you can structure that plan and you know what's best for that street. So I think the more you come in and consult here and be a very positive presence on the street, the more it can help you realise its potential. I know the answer hasn't been given to you because the plan is part of phase 2 and it's not done yet.
Well,
But
can I ask you another question then, and both of you, John, as well, another question? You know, the buildings here in the street, we know they're very old. We know that they have been very, you know, run down, very neglected, all that kind of thing. Let me ask a question. Is it worth, because of, for historic reasons, doing up these buildings, or really are they gone by that stage, and the people who own them, should they be given a compulsory order then to knock them down?
I think that has to be assessed first.
Yeah.
I suppose it's premature really knowing the final answer, but you're part of the solution and you're a very important part of that solution. So I think the question can't be answered for a while, but there's many different ways of tackling it.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, every building will have its own story, and every building will have to be, separately assessed.
But what's very good today is Longford County Council are here and inviting the public in for their feedback. And that's a very proactive thing, because it doesn't happen in a lot of places. The fact you're here is an important component of that future.
John, what I suppose successful urban regeneration experiences in different parts of the country all point to is, I suppose, the local community. I mean, buildings have owners, you know, and you know, getting that conversation going with the local authority is critical. This morning we heard from chief executives in Waterford, in Kilkenny, in Mayo. Obviously there's ourselves as well watching, I suppose, good experiences right around the country. Louth is a very good case in point. And we've also put new instruments at the disposal of local authorities. They may not be perfect, but they're intended to move, I suppose, that sort of piece around getting better uses out of the buildings and the spaces that we have. We have a vacant sites levy, and we're finding, I suppose, it's a bit of a mixed bag in relation to how local authorities are engaging with that process. We're going to increase the vacant site levy now under legislation which went through. I brought it through with Minister English last Friday to increase the levy progressively up to 7%. We want local authorities to use the Urban Regeneration and Housing Act and the vacant site levy to target buildings and properties that, for whatever reason, and you know, people can have all sorts of economic and other reasons why they can't maybe do something with the building, but we want to try and make sure that the buildings and the properties in the centre of our cities and towns, if they can't be used by the individuals that own them, they need to be recycled and reused and brought into beneficial use. Thinking of, for example, all of the people in our country that would love to have an opportunity to have, you know, a good quality living and working opportunity in the centre of our towns and villages. Every time, and I know Great Water Street, I've come through here many a time, and it is a place that, you know, is probably too marked by vacancy and underutilisation and so on. I know it has its flooding and other issues going way back, but these are all factors that have to be, as Simon says, you know, pulled into the IAP process and so on. So, you know, as John and your official, your public officials in the local authority have outlined, this is now actually about the community getting vocal and getting engaged with the process and setting out their ideas. There's great urban design, planning, finance. Your local authorities are wonderful places to get things done. I've seen it all over the country. Now it's long for its time. It's long for its opportunity to take all the learnings from the great work that Simon is doing and many others like him right around and localise it here and so on. So there are no hard and fast answers today because there isn't actually the finalisation of the process. But you know, there's the opening of a process so that I suppose in time you can come to talk to people like us in the department or elsewhere to gain our support. And we are absolutely committed to local authorities that want to take active steps in relation to managing their city and town centres. We have the buy and renew and repair and lease initiatives in the social housing programme, where we're willing to support the capital costs associated with buying empty and derelict properties and bringing them back into beneficial use for social housing purposes. But the Urban Regeneration and Development Fund goes way beyond that into, I suppose, broader sort of areas of development as well. John is right, CPO is tricky business legally, it's expensive, it's time consuming and so on. And very often, I suppose, the important thing is that you have the conversation, you have the surveys as to the properties that are vacant, you engage with the property owners. You know, ultimately the CPO process is there if the owner can't be found or there's a there's just a difficulty that you have to overcome using that mechanism. But the important thing is that you have the conversations first. And we'll be with you and support you all the way in relation to that process. We're there, the legislation is ours and so on, and you can keep track with us. Longford County Council can harness us as support in relation to that process. Okay?
Let me put this to you before I stop talking. Let me put this one point to you. If you were a business person
Yes.
and you said you'd like to come to Longford and you set up an industry, or supposing you said I'm going to visit Catherine in Great Water Street, you would not come down the street because you'd say, I know nobody lives down there. You'd
I
start
think you're right. Yes.
out
Yes.
and you'd see the cut.
Yes.
And you'd say, I know she doesn't live there, I must have got the address wrong. Do you see?
Yeah.
And also, we do have some antisocial behaviour. We have 2 blocks of apartments, so we do have some antisocial behaviour. And is this where Clúis could be brought in maybe to help? You know, I don't know if when you think about St. Michael's Road, the way it was done up.
This will all be considered Catherine, in the new urban design framework, and we will bring all that in, that these ideas, whether we need CPO, whether we need to bring in a housing agency, what sort of housing is needed in this area, what sort of development, and that's what the next step is about, and getting people like you to give us their ideas of what is needed, how you feel the place works for you at the moment, and what we need to do to improve that. And that will be all included in what we do.
Yeah, it's a very lonely street. I remember when Water Street was a great street and you knew everybody. So now you know nobody. Nobody talks, nothing. I've nobody living the other side of my sister. I'm very lucky living one side of me, but I've nobody, there's nobody else.
Yeah.
And this is very bad, you know. And you see, you're talking about the whole redevelopment of the Camden and the whole area and all that. But if you do all that and then you see the top of Water Street, I think it's just not on, you know. It would be terrible. But think of it from bringing a business to Longford, or thinking of it from coming to visit me in Water Street. Just think about that for a minute.
And think about what would bring people into the centre of Longford
Yeah.
and have them stay in the centre of Longford.
Yes.
You know,
yes.
I'm from a large extended family.
Yes.
If I was to
And
organise a
what
family
business-
reunion
Yeah.
and sort of suggest, right, we're going to go away for a weekend. You know, it's going to be no problem selling the concept,
Yeah.
going to Westport or lots of other places. Many of the Midlands towns, and Longford is not the only one,
Oh no.
has a challenge in relation to, I suppose, getting that sort of message across. And yet, it has great raw material. You know, you have obviously with Centre Parks, huge investment that's come into the county here, and not for no reason. So it's really about spreading that sort of benefit and activating that sort of possibility here in your county town.
Okay, and I want you, I'm going to sit down now. I want to just say this one thing to you. You just think, you know, I'm going to start up a business, I'm going to set it up in Longford, but I look at the top of Water Street, and you know, this is complete and lovely street. It's the way through to the shopping centre, we have our council offices, both sides of the street. We have our library right through to the library. I mean, it's not as if it was just nothing. And you think I'm going to set up a business there, but when I see Water Street looked at, I just no.
Now you have to watch.
Thank you very much, Catherine.